and this is February 9th, 2016. I hear you, Liz.
Sorry.
And as you can hear, we are live radio from Hawaii and Kentucky. Well, tonight we are going, it's really an act. Oh my goodness, I can't get tongue-tied yet, right? So we have a lot to talk about tonight. First off, this show, I would like to say, is dedicated to my sister Carol Bilsky, who actually passed away about a year ago this month. And because of that, and in honor of her, I'm going to talk about how to help a loved one actually make transition. And that's not going to be really easy for me because in order to talk about it, I'm going to have to kind of relive the experience. And it's like anything, when someone passes away and they're very ill, you really don't want to go there. But I will tonight. And then we're going to talk about the dark night of the soul, which everybody goes through. It's one of those things you either been there. I know I've been there quite a few times. You are there, you're going to be there, you're just really in denial of the whole spiritual growth and how the initiations work. We're going to talk about practical application of the violet flame and how to reconnect those empowered to source, including Governor Snyder from Michigan, and all those that are in the higher power that signed the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And if we have time, we'll get in a little bit with how to work with weather. So before I get to that, I want to talk about something that we really need to do as a group in solidarity. And it's coming from the Teamsters, and we really all need to join in. So I'd like you to get pen and paper and write down this number. And it's 1-844-394-8431, and that is the direct line to Congress. Now, last week, trade ministers gathered in New Zealand to sign the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or we're just going to call it the TPP this week. And Teamsters from all over the country are flooding Congress with calls demanding they reject the massive trade deal. Like I said, write down the number, and you even call them now at 1-844-394-8431 and urge Congress to say no to the job-killing TPP. Now, the TPP is a backroom deal that was negotiated with the aid of hundreds of corporate lobbyists, while the public and press were barred from even reviewing what was being proposed in our names. Now that the deal has been signed and the text is public, it's clear, again, why negotiators kept it secret for so long. The TPP would be a disaster for the economy, the environment, public health, and everybody you can think of. Among other serious problems, the TPP would make it even easier for big corporations to offshore jobs to countries like Vietnam, where workers are often paid less than 65 cents an hour. And we can't afford a massive new race to the bottom trade deal that destroys jobs and drives down wages. Now, the good news is that signing the TPP is not the same as if being ratified by Congress. And if we put enough pressure on our Congress members now, the entire thing can be derailed. And that's where you all come in. So please call the toll-free number 1-844-394-8431 now to join thousands of others urging Congress to oppose the TPP. When you call, you'll hear a short recording from Teamsters General President Jimmy Hoffa with some talking points about the TPP, and you'll then be asked to type in your zip code. From there, you'll be automatically connected to your U.S. representative's or senator's office. Just tell the person who answers this: I'm calling from Hawaii, to ask my member of Congress to publicly oppose the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Can I please leave my name and address so that you can let me know their position on the TPP? The whole process won't take more than 2 minutes, but by joining with so many others across the country, you'll be helping to flood Congress with calls ensuring our elected officials get the message that constitutes their constituents are dead set against the TPP. So please join the national call-in days today and tomorrow by dialing 1-844 394-8431. Now, I don't know how many of you beer drinkers are out there and how many of you actually really support and drink Millers, okay? Miller Coors. Well, I just want you to know, and again, this is another union challenge, but Miller Coors plans to abandon North Carolina by shutting down its profitable, award-winning brewery in Eden, North Carolina, where 500 people work, including members of Teamsters Local 391. Now, the plant shutdown will devastate hundreds of working families and rob North Carolina of much-needed revenue. It will also eliminate more than 10% of Miller Coors' U.S. production capacity, likely leading to future price hikes for customers. So come on, support the Teamsters, support the normal working guy that's in this, working in this plant. And I'm sure on every can of Coors and Millers, they've got a phone number. So dial it and tell them you're going to boycott them if they leave North Carolina. So yeah, I guess I'm calling for a boycott on Miller Coors beer. This is crazy. This should not be happening. Now, we've been doing a lot of energy work about Rick Snyder, and Rick Snyder is, he's really, really not a nice guy. To me, he's pretty on the evil side. And he's the one that created a really severe healthcare problem in Flint, Michigan, because of how he ordered them to save money to redirect their water from, I think, Lake Huron to the Huron River, which is very lead-based. But this is something that's going on all over the country. They are messing with our water. Well, Rick Snyder, we did a power of prayer last week. Well, Rick Snyder has been invited to testify in front of the Steering and Policy Committee on Wednesday, tomorrow, in Washington, D.C. Now, the invitation came from Representative Rosa DeLauro and Representative Donna Edwards and Representative Dan Kildee. The hearing being held on February 10th is titled, "The Flint Water Crisis, Lessons for Protecting Americans' Children." Yeah, get Rick Snyder in prison and send him to prison for what he did. He wasn't really protecting the children. Oh, my God. So to date, Congress has not heard testimony from Rick Snyder on the Flint water crisis. The letter read, "Seeing how it was your administration's decisions that led to this public health crisis, including Michigan's emergency manager law, we believe that it's important to hear testimony from you on the matter." So also invited is Dr. Monahana Atisha, director of the Pediatric Residency Program, and some other doctors that are into non-toxic alternatives. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, as well as Representatives DeLauro, Edwards, and Kildee will be holding the hearing as they are members of the House Democratic Caucus. So right now, it's not clear if Governor Snyder will accept the invitation to testify. Well, how in the world can he not accept the invitation? And why would it be an invitation? I would think it would be more like, you get your ass over here and we want an explanation of why you did what you did, and we want an accountability. You know, how hard is that one? Instead of, oh, we are inviting you? Oh, good God, gag me. So we're going to do a little more work on Governor Snyder, but talk about the crisis. You know, as they say, Flint is just a little taste of what's going on in the water supplies with the water. Now, nobody talks about what's going on in the Navajo reservation and their water crisis. So other instances of criminally negligent environmental pollution in the United States includes the 50-year legacy of PCB contamination of the Mohawk community of Aquasansni, and the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, situated at the Yakima Nation's front yard, which is Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. So now the present day, according to the U.S. EPA, more than 500 of the existing 1,300 abandoned uranium mines on Navajo lands exhibit elevated levels of radiation. The Navajo abandoned uranium mines, gamma radiation measurements, and priority mines are read off the charts. Now, this unresolved plague of radiation, oh, that word radiation, is compounded by pollution from coal mines and a coal-fired power plant that manifests at an even more systematic level. The entire Navajo water supply is currently tainted from industry toxins. Recent media coverage and spiraling public outrage over the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, has completely eclipsed the ongoing environmental justice struggles of the Navajo. And that's why I'm bringing that out, guys. The Navajo also need help. Even worse, the media continues to frame the situation in Flint as some sort of isolated incident. While many environmental movements are fighting to establish proper regulation of pollutants at state, federal, and even international levels, these 4 cases are representative of a pervasive environmental racism that stacks up against communities like the Navajo and prevents them from receiving equal protection under existing regulations and policies. Despite the common thread among these cases, the wave of righteous indignation over the ongoing tragedy in Flint has yet to reach the Navajo Nation, the Mohawk community, the Akwisanse, the Yakima Nation, or the many other indigenous communities across the United States that continue to endure various toxic levels in relative silence. Well, let that be out there and let it be known, and let's put them in their prayers that everything is brought up to the surface and dealt with. So let's do a little energy work on Governor Snyder. Now, he's supposed to go and testify tomorrow. So we're going to, please join me in this. We're going to do something really short. So we're going to call to Governor Snyder's higher self, and we're going to ask his higher self, it's for the highest good of everyone in the country and in Michigan, that he goes to this congressional hearing, that his higher self gets him there, gets him on a plane and gets him seated. And we also call to his higher self that he speaks truth. He puts his ego aside and he speaks the truth. We're going to call the violet flame around him to burn off any energy, any magic that's keeping him protected. And we're going to ask that this congressional meeting go in a way that as he speaks the truth, those that are sitting on the panel judging him take appropriate actions, get him out of office, and put him in prison for his criminal negligent actions. and replaced with a light worker. And we're going to ask the same for the Navajo Nation, that whoever is blocking this knowledge from going forward, let the blocks be removed. Let people start talking about it, like Flint, Michigan. And we're going to call the higher selves of the Navajo to be given the divine inspiration on what they need to do, not only to bring it out, to bring attention to themselves, but to win their cases and to get that area cleaned up. And right now they're being trucked in water, and may they receive all the water they need, as in Flint, Michigan. And let them receive all free medical care that they need, and be given all the alternatives so they can, that will work for them, so they can improve without pharmaceuticals. Let all the natural healing methods come out. All right, so let's fill this up with light and love. And tomorrow at the hearing, we're going to anchor the violet flame into the center of that room and see it expand, so everyone there speaks truth. And that when they do, the goddess of justice steps in and takes action. All right, so let's fill this up with light and love and give it a lot of energy, and take a deep breath and release it. Well, I know by now you are very aware that we have high radiation in the air, and many people are choosing to make transition in many, many different ways. And there's a lot out there that have had, and maybe you have noticed this, I know I certainly have, that have beaten cancer, and then all of a sudden it comes back like with a vengeance, and they're gone in 3 months. How many people do you know that have died from heart attacks? And young people are dying of heart attacks. Animals, racehorses. How many of you have gotten sick after you've flown in an airplane? You know, radiation will do that, guys. And what's going on in Fukushima is very criminal. There was a nuclear disaster going on 5 years. And the governments are not stepping in to stop it. The Japanese aren't really doing anything about it, which is so criminal. Matter of fact, they got a gag order on it. You got radiation in so many nuclear plants being released above and beyond the radiation from Fukushima. And I'm not saying this to scare you, but it's a matter of fact. They've got a nuclear waste site in Louisiana. Oh, St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, and there's an underground fire, and it's been hitting that, and that's releasing radiation into the air more. And then you have the leaks at Parker Ranch in LA, and that's radiation leaks, guys. They're calling it methane and everything else, but it's leaking radiation. Got Indian Point in California leaking, plants in Michigan. There is no safe nuclear plant, but the whole point is we're breathing radiation, and people are starting to let go and leave the planet. And we're really not taught, or we really don't talk about anymore, how do you help a loved one make transition? And like I said, this show is dedicated to my sister Carol, who passed on. And so this is who I wrote about. And really, it wasn't easy for me to write about helping, your loved one make transition, because that means and meant I had to relive my sister's passing again. And, that would make me cry. And, lately, past couple of days, I see her picture, which I posted, and I've been crying on and off all day. And, we all have human moments. And when I wrote this story, oh my goodness, the tears, I just started crying. A spirit told me I needed to write about my experience about helping her let go. So I'm not talking about euthanasia. I'm talking about sending the sick person the energy in such a way that helps them release their souls on their own and own time. Many people are choosing to leave the earth, making transition in many ways, some quicker than others. But let's face it, no matter how long you are on the planet, 40 years or 700 years, we all will make transition, leaving our physical bodies behind for one of light, all of us. We have forgotten how to help people make transition in a gentle, kind, peaceful release. So I'm going to share with you what I did to help my sister Carol release from her body when it was time. Now, how did I know it was time? Well, her body was shutting down. Fluid was forming around her heart. And she lost all motor movements, as well as having no more interest in food, and she couldn't talk. She was also scared of what was to happen next. Now, it really sucks when your body is gone and your brain is still active and functioning. You feel everything and totally hopeless because you no longer have physical control over your body. And that makes you dependent on people for everything. When I realized her body was shutting down, the hardest choice I had to make was to stop sending her any healing energy to prolong her distress. I called to her higher self and asked to be guided as to what to do to help her, and asked that she receive the energy work if it was for her highest good. I cut ties with whatever was holding her to stay in physical form, whether it was a person, including any family members that she was attached to, or the people that were attached to her. By cutting all those ties, her soul is not being compelled to stay in the physical. I have a lot of pictures of Carol packed between slices of the healing stone angelite, and I took those off her pictures. I was now releasing her from all my energy work I've been doing and sending her for years. I called Carol's angels that work with her to send her something that would bring her much joy when she was not conscious. In this case, my sister thought that the movie actor Chuck Norris was a hottie. Now remember, she was like 72, okay? So I called forth many images of him so she could pick the one that worked best for her, in dream time, of course. I also asked that her spirit helpers show her many beautiful pictures of all the new possibilities that awaited her on the other side. I wanted her to see the beauty that would bring her heart peace and joy. I called to all the friends and relatives of Carol that have already passed over to come and visit and help her guide toward the light, and when, especially when she finally let go of her physical body. I also worked with the hospital staff as much as I could and asked them to give her whatever drug she needed to make herself comfortable and out of pain. And at this point, it's about quality of life, not prolonging someone's pain and discomfort. And I'm only asking for what I would like to experience when the time comes. I also asked for help from friends who knew how to work with energy and light to send Carol what energy she needed to release and let go. Prayers are so helpful. The goal is to help your loved ones release their souls from the physical form in a gentle, kind, loving, peaceful way. She was a good, kind person and deserved all the grace that I, in my humble way, could send her. See, it's hard to get through it without crying. When she did finally make transition, I felt the void of energy. Now, what does that mean, void of energy? Well, over the years, I was sending Carol energy to her life force. And after she passed, that energy, having no place to go, would actually return to me. And I had to learn to reapply that energy in different ways. And I felt an emptiness, for I missed her energy that she held while in physical form. Now it was gone. And now she's in spirit form. So there's a different energy out there, a new one, and one, that I actually had to get used to and get used to working with. So the void is there and was there until my body could readjust itself and that space was filled with light in Carol's new form. Now, after she passed, I had a little celebration. I was so happy that she was released from her broken body and the pain it caused. She is in a better place now. I miss her, and life does go on. That is the way our loved ones would want it for us, to not give up. But you have to be aware that, when you experience a death of someone near to you, you're going to experience a form of shock and trauma. It's not easy to help a person make transition, nor be around them while they're sick, nor, like I said, be there when they pass. For your own health, I would really recommend you getting some rescue remedy, and that's homeopathic. And all you have to do is just put a couple drops in your water, a bottle of water, and then just sip it all day, or put a couple drops in under your tongue. And what it is, it's a homeopathic treatment designed to help you release the shock and trauma out of your body quicker and very gently. Now, what I do, because I can't handle the little taste of alcohol that it's in, you can put a few drops in your bathtub, while you're having a little rest and relaxation that you need. After all, death is a part of life, and we all are going to take that journey. And I really hope that when it's your time, it'll be very peaceful. But whatever works best for your highest good and your soul's journey. And I have to tell you a funny story, or share with you a funny story I had with Carol. And before I do that, someone who recently helped a friend of his make transition, he said what made a strong impression on him was, he called the ease of dying. It was so easy, so light, one breath and it was done. And, all the tension and trauma we build around this most natural of all processes, it's right there alongside of birth. So it doesn't have to be, it can be gentle, loving, and kind. So I have to tell you this story about my sister and I when I went to visit her in the nursing home, and I had to fly in from Hawaii to Detroit, Michigan, where she was in her nursing home. So I flew all night, and my friend picked me up early at the airport when I got in, went right from the airport to where, Carol was. And I think it was at night. No, it was in the morning. And I decided I was going to take her for a walk in her wheelchair. And Carol was hooked up to a catheter. And if you don't know what that is, it's a little bag that catches your urine because, you don't have any control of it. So there's a couple tubes going from you to the bag, and, it's supposed to be all tied up in the chair. Well, I was a little tired. So as I was pushing her, I kind of hit the wall. Now, it didn't hit her, okay, but it hit the chair, and I didn't think of it because I didn't hurt her. So I just, started on my way, and we walked all the way around, the nursing home. And we got to one place where I was just standing there, and somebody looked, and they go, "Look what's happening." And I looked at her chair, and I guess when I hit the wall, I accidentally tore out the tube out of the catheter bag that was at the wheelchair. So I was leaving a trail of urine everywhere we went. And all I could say is, "Carol, you own that place. You claimed it. Your scent is everywhere." Anyway, yeah, you got to look at life with humor. Yeah. And she was such a kind soul, and I would like to think of her in joy instead of me crying, which I don't want to do on the radio. All right, so let's talk about the dark night of the soul, okay? Now, it's a process of transformation, and one usually connects to a greater suffering because it's hell. Let's be real. So the dark night of the soul sounds like a threatening and much to be avoided experience. Yet perhaps a quarter of the seekers on the road to higher consciousness will pass through the dark night. In fact, they may pass through several until they experience the profound joy of their true nature. Now, many seekers would encourage the dark night experience if they knew what it was. Right. Sorry. However, to one engaged in the dark night, suffering seems unending. The dark night occurs after considerable advancement toward higher consciousness. Indeed, the dark night usually occurs like an initiation before one of these special seekers is admitted into regular relationship with the higher consciousness. The dark night also occurs to those who do not seek relationship, but immersion or unity in the higher consciousness. While the term dark night of the soul is used broadly, its general meaning in the field of higher consciousness is a lengthy and profound absence of light and hope. And trust me, in that dark night, you feel profoundly alone. Can anybody relate to this? I can. Now, up to this particular time, there was joy, there was delight, but now there's only a hanging on, a dogged hanging on. You persist because you can't conceive of going back to your old way of life. That seems impossible now. That would be like going to prison. Living as if with a transorbital lobotomy. You deeply want to have joy and fulfillment, easily manifest prosperity, but something's not working. You don't know what it is, but something's awry, and your meditations have lost their luster. Sometimes during rare meditations, you do experience brief moments of peace. Your agonizing mind and heart rest from their turbulence, and even these fleeting times of calm are so deeply appreciated. Your light dance of life, which had gone on for some time, is now trudging in what seems a devastated and alien land. Your fellow seekers look at you and show their concern. Their words of kindness are valued, but you feel you're somehow incapable of responding well. Your heart is numb. At these times, your friends try to cheer you up. They invite you to dinner, and you seem to perform fairly well despite the emptiness you feel inside. What else is there to do? You wonder if you have any right to be in their fellowship at all. You think of leaving town, but where would you go? And what good would diversion be? A number of your friends in the fellowship of this great path know what you are going through, for they have been through it themselves. They feel the main thing is to do is encourage you to go on. They know if you keep it up and do not quit, you will succeed. They know if you quit, you will be a self-reject, a return to the old life, forever a foreigner, but neither at home with it nor at home anywhere else. They recognize that your own higher self, out of love, is lifting you up into its embrace. They see you are being drawn into your dark night because your inner potential has great stature, and your crusty old ego requires you to go through the dark night in order to be transformed. And you really feel totally alone. Other seekers, for various reasons, do not have to pass through the dark night. However, the dark night is your way. Your night is a very difficult time. While others may one day envy you for the marvelous growth you experienced in such a short, intensified period, you will, because of the pain of your experience, always feel profound compassion for those whom you one day see going through a similar night. Being caught between the old way of life and the new possibilities, your sense of alienation intensifies. Your sense of inadequacy and not knowing what to do next becomes gnawingly constant. You feel you would do anything to get out of this state, yet it's only your ego which is keeping you in it. However, this insight is impossible for you to grasp while going through your long night, and you feel so totally alone. Sure, you have friends and you appreciate them, but you're keenly aware that they're not capable of feeling what you're feeling or knowing what you're going through. Sometimes they seem like clowns. Sometimes they seem empty-headed, caught up in meaningless pursuits. They don't understand, you think, how much you're suffering or how you cry out and pray deep into each midnight. You try their advice, but it doesn't seem to touch the heart of the matter. You begin to enter the dark night in earnest when you feel completely stranded. In the fullness of the dark night, you don't know where you are spiritually. You're separate from God and man. You don't know where to turn. Your friends love you and wish you well, but your condition does not improve. The dark night is a very private matter. The person in the dark night is generally able to function quite well despite inner suffering. Often your acquaintances never suspect that you're going through the dark night. They probably do not even know what it is. Only people close to you, especially friends along the path, can recognize your pain. You feel like a hollow person doing the activities of life with no motivation except expediency. Your eyes seem deeper in your head. You are profoundly aware of the suffering of humanity and the cruelty of one person to another. You feel that cruelty and negativity far outweigh love and constructive action. And then you enter midnight, alone and not wishing to be, unable even to express yourself to others. You enter midnight and the greatest intensity of the dark night. Here you have finally come to the time of sovereign solitude. In this precious time, which has no apparent prospects of love or happiness, you clearly perceive that nothing in the outer world has proven adequate to heal your condition. Nobody, not even your dearest friends and loved ones, can make you whole, even if they have tried and love you enough to try loving you forever. They can't give you peace. You eye your books and consider all the benefits you have gained from these extremely wise vessels of truth, yet not one book, not one thought goes deep enough inside you to where the affliction abides. You look at your possessions, your money container, no material thing has been able to help you, no material means have worked, nothing. No one in the outer world has enabled you to come out of this dark night. In your loneliness, you next, in the seemingly random process, notice that none of your thoughts have proven adequate to your suffering, not one, even repeated 50,000 times, breaks the inner storm and lets in light. God and higher consciousness seem so far away that perhaps they are unreal. Neither one has, despite your protracted exposure of yourself, done anything to ease or remove your agony. Nothing appears to work. Clearly, there's nowhere to turn. There's nothing to be done. All actions you considered have been tried. There is nothing to think, nothing to feel, nothing to do, nowhere to go. It seems you have to accept this defeat, or you can persist in struggling against it. For a while longer, you go about thinking, feeling, and doing other options that occur to you, but you realize in the midnight of your soul that you have tried every option you know of. And then the peace comes. You're helpless, totally helpless, as well as ever so alone. You abide in this condition and you accept your predicament. You accept that there is really, except for a murmured prayer to a remote Lord and a remnant of a shredded faith, nothing else left. And suicide would be absurd. Suicide would be an act of arrogance and vanity. You have grown far beyond such primitive responses to your private agony. No, nothing to do, nothing remains in this lonely helplessness. There is without question nothing you can do. You abide, you accept your state. How have you gotten to this place? That's significant. Musings and feelings aside, you wait, you feel. You may have to stay this way forever, doing the regular day-to-day things, but in this mood of emptiness, nothing, then it happens. A holy presence comes into your room, sweetly, softly. You feel it filling you. Your mind is filled with mellow or bright light. Your heart, your still heart is permeated with peace. This peace moves through your body like a cold spring of mountain water. It flows in your spine, your brain, and under your skin everywhere. Also, this presence, this comforter, moves like a breeze across your arid mind and numb heart. Then, or a few days later, the fire of joy begins to smolder. Here, abiding with nothing more to do, your ego drops away. Your ignorant, arrogant, fearing sense of self falls away from you. You stand in light, a new being, a free being, transformed. Believe it or not, that's what the dark night is all about, transformation. Your ego, your limited sense of self, your inadequate complex of ideas about who you are had to be dissolved. Your ego was, you begin to see, eclipsing higher consciousness and your true nature. Your old sense of self was inadequate to your new hopes and proper state. Your suffering intensified because of a major misapprehension. You were too used to thinking of yourself based on inputs from your previous experiences in life. On and on through life, you're gathered information and responses from the world, which indicated to you what kind of person you were and are. These superficial units of related inputs became integrated in what is called the ego. Your sense of self, your sense of who you are, as long as you were allowed this inaccurate and only partial sense of who you are to dominate, you could not know or abide in your true nature. Your ego sense is so powerful. You invest it with so much of your thought and feeling that your attitudes of life becomes based on egocentric perspective. The ego gains a progressively greater foothold on your entire life because your basic attitudes about your existence and essential nature are strongly linked with ego. Then your ego sense, due to your suffering and your limitations in life, wants to have more power over circumstances and a more pleasant life. The ego sense often becomes motivated to seek higher consciousness and thus greater ability to dominate in life. Not always, but often. It's the ego sense which most eagerly pursues higher consciousness. It wants to be in charge. It wants to manipulate events and make life come out more to its satisfaction. But as long as your ego dominates, it's on a collision course with your true nature and your higher consciousness. And there will be a showdown. There has to be a confrontation. Sometimes, if your higher consciousness is ever to emerge and you are ever to know truly who you are and what your human capabilities are. Furthermore, and this is extremely important, especially in understanding the dark night of the soul, your ego, as it develops from childhood onward, has the conviction that it is the doer. Generally, your ego assumes that it chooses what your mind will think and chooses what your heart will feel. It feels it selects the various actions and activities you are going to undertake. Your sense of self, being convinced it is the doer, feels it accomplishes anything and everything in your life. Do you see then how the dark night develops? A false sense of self has been ignorantly and manipulatively standing in the way of enlightenment. And additionally, until you are consolidated in higher consciousness, your ego can return and reestablish control if you let it. Sometimes when you're fatigued or when you have a special new opportunities in life, you're vulnerable to the reestablishment of your ego and its opinion that is in charge of doing everything. It will again eclipse the higher consciousness until you recognize what has happened. Then you must courageously and consciously reaffirm your true nature and deal with the upstart old ego. Otherwise, another dark night phase will again develop. Woo, woo, bells and whistles. So a person seeking higher consciousness is in effect, and with the intensity, seeking the transformation of his own ego. He is seeking to end the tyranny of the ego and abide in his true nature instead of a false nature concocted through experiences and emotional inputs during the process of life. While it is true, these inputs have a value in subjecting you to new experiences and so offer you unique learning situations, they often give you a delusionary sense of self. You are not your mistake. Even a murderer can change and become a new being. Still, as you progress toward higher consciousness, your ego may not be humbling in daily transforming itself. You may instead have a higher developed ego, which is sure that it is causing the events of higher consciousness to unfold bit by bit. Your ego, after all, can be very interested in the attributes of higher consciousness in meditation and association with enlightened beings. Your ego feels gratification and satisfaction in moving on down the road toward higher consciousness. Your ego may also have the opinion that because of its grasp of matters, it will one day establish, or by its thought process and feelings, bring about enlightenment and awakening. It's convinced that it will achieve higher consciousness. This is ironic because by the time of the dark night, the ego is the main obstacle. It's the obstruction of the light of consciousness. It stands between you and your fulfillment. In fact, the length of your dark night is based on the translucence and cunning of your ego. It can fight a very lengthy battle as if fears it's going to be destroyed or will have to give in to something much greater than it knows itself to be. Incredibly, your ego wants to be in on the active enlightenment. Ego wants to bring about higher consciousness by its own dramatic means. Certainly, it doesn't want to be granted fulfillment by a power outside of self. Convinced that it is the doer, your ego holds on for dear life until that event called the dark night of the soul, when your ego awakens to the profound fact that it cannot cause or bring about higher consciousness. Ego cannot, by its will or any other skills, whatever, create the wholeness of heart, which will end your deep suffering. In a sense, your ego recognizes itself in the dark night to be the disease. It recognizes that its foothold on your mind and heart has an advanced stage on your path, proven a great numbing agent and a high stone wall against the light. Ego stands against the fulfillment of your faith and the realization of your profoundest yearnings. Finally, the ego has found something it cannot do, and in the dark night of the soul, it becomes totally convinced it is inadequate. It cannot deal with your suffering or fulfillment of the heart's yearning. Nothing it can do, think or say, buy or travel to will in any way suffice. So here in the, whoops, there we are, we're in break, and we will back in a short minute. Welcome back, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap, Let Light Unite show on Revolution Radio, and this is Tuesday night, February 9th, 2016. And Revolution Radio is listener sponsors, and we really appreciate your donations, and that's how we stay on air. So please go to their website and look up, just go to their donation button and give them, even a cup of coffee from Starbucks. It all adds up, and it keeps us on air. Everybody here is all volunteer. Nobody gets paid to do this work. So if you want us to stay on air, then, then go on over to Revolution Radio's website at Freedom's Lips and give them a donation, and we appreciate everything that you've done. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be on air. If you want to know more about me, well, I have a lot of videos up now on YouTube, and I have the curse removal that you can listen to if you're in need of that. And I have the soul retrieval, a back-to-back that a lot of people are, really getting a lot of benefits from. That's some shamanic work you can do for free. And a lot of the shows are up, a lot of power prayers. I'm on LinkedIn and Google Plus and Twitter, Facebook. I put a lot of my power prayers out on Facebook, and actually all of those. So if you want to really join the Enlightenment movement 2016 and help us manifest it. Makes a difference. The energy you put out. And, we did some energy work on the Super Bowl, their satanic rituals that they normally do. And if you think it was all warm and fuzzy, it really wasn't. They really had all kinds of Illuminati symbolism, and it's basically, they're getting ready to take over. Cancel clear. It was more than just pretty colors, guys. But a lot of people really felt bad after it. And I'm thinking, wow, what would have happened if we did not do the energy work? Whoa, I don't even want to think about that. So for all of you that participated in neutralizing all that satanic magic during the Super Bowl halftime, thank you. You will score points in heaven for that one. And your energy work really did make a difference. And then you can also go to my website at www.angellightom.com, where I have a lot of my healing tools there and a lot of Angel Light products. That's ANGELITEOM.com. I also have the curse removal that you could download and listen to for free. It's under free healing. And I have a book that you can also download for free. It's a book on helping you remember everything you've forgotten about your some spiritual truths, like working with the violet flame, the energy of love, simple things, but very powerful to use. And I like to say it's helping you remember what you've forgotten. That's all books do, help us remember what we've forgotten. So there's many ways to keep up with, and then we have the Enlightened movement, and that's, you can get, that's Enlightenment Movement 2016 at Shutterfly.com. If you join that, I also put group daily energy work that you can join in and amplify. I let you know when there's energy work that needs to be done that we need to give special attention to. Some of the satanic days that they do their ritual work, we need to amplify light. So you need to know about those days and, really amplify the light and put out more good thoughts and, literally allow that light to flow through you and send it out to the earth and wherever else it's needed. So all that stuff's on the website. And if you join, then, when the updates are there, you get them and you really get to amplify the work and help us manifest the Enlightened movement, which we are supposed to do this year. All the stars are lined up, and it's really awesome because people are starting to talk about the quantum leap and how this is a year for the quantum leap. And this is what we want. We want people to talk about this. The more they talk about it, the more we're going to manifest it, and the quicker we're going to manifest it. And it can be done and not cost anybody a single penny. It's not with today's of the electronics and, Twitter and all this other ways to reach out to people. And I am becoming a Twitter whore, I have to say, because I seem to be reaching a lot of people on Twitter, even though they've limited me to how many people I can actually, communicate with, and they can communicate with me, be friends. So yes, I'm a Twitter whore, but it's all for enlightenment. What can I say? So we were talking about the dark night of the soul right before break, and all I want to say is, when it's over, and it does get over, the dawn of a new life in higher consciousness transforms your bleak life of the past months into one of heavenly nature. You've also been delivered by that intolerable bondage to the ego. And henceforth, you're going to walk the earth, seeing others afresh, living a new life and abiding in your own nature. You've become a son or daughter of higher consciousness, and your words and your actions will be attuned with your true self. And you're going to express inspiration and comfort because, you just bend down through that dark night and it's over. So you will get through it, I promise. And when you do, there's always a gift at the end, And with my big ego, I have to say I've been through it quite a few times. But I'd like to think that now it's always my will, but not my will, but thy will be done. And what do you want me to do next, God? And okay. And that's how I live my life. And it's so much nicer. Oh my God. I mean, I do own a store in Hawaii on the Big Island, which you're more than welcome to come to. I am the caretaker of the largest crystal in Hawaii, and it's 1,000-pound celestial earthkeeper smoky quartz that you can hug anytime. And I have another 650-pound big crystal celestial, also earthkeeper, that you can hug and sit on. And I call him Honu because it kind of looks like the shape of a turtle. I do a lot of the shamanic work at the store. Actually, I did soul retrieval for a person this morning, and I do that by donation or for free, but it's more personal. I also do curse removal and the energy balancing. I do little free mini massages with my angel light tools, and that really helps you let go of all kinds of stuff that you no longer serves you, and you feel really light and really happy. People leave my store happy. And And then you can also lay on my angel light table in the front of the store. Okay, just to be clear. And the angel light table, gets your whole body and really helps you release all your pain and stress in a very gentle, kind, loving way, which I really like. Like releasing stuff, it doesn't have to be drama and dramatic. It really doesn't. So anyway, let's talk about working with the violet flame. Why do I bring this up so much? Is because it's so important that you work with it and you understand what it is. It's one of the sacred teachings that the Illuminati don't want you to have. And I found it very, very profound in my life. And it was a game changer, a life changer for me. So the violet flame is one of the highest energies you can work with. Now, it's also called the singing flame. And when you call the flame forth, it erases cause, effect, record memory of your karma. So it transmutes all that dark energy in your body. It cleans you up energetically, reconnects you to the Creator. And, believe me, you'll have much forward movement, but with greater clarity. And it will also transmute dark energy to light, and it releases addictions. So the first time I tried working with the violet flame, and I'm the kind of person, it's learn by doing. If this is what you say it's going to do, I'll give it a shot, and I want to see for myself what's going to happen. So the first time I tried working with the violet flame was actually, probably 33 years ago. Lifetimes away from where I am now. And I was a very heavy pot smoker back then. And, I was pretty brain dead. I had trouble completing sentences. And I have to say my memory was really shot and I was pretty fried. So I was guided to a book written by Mark Prophet called The Science of the Spoken Word, and I'd really recommend getting it. And you can get it through Amazon real cheap, and they have used ones, which are really cheaper. So this is a book with nothing but invocations to the violet flame. Now, like I said, I'm the kind of person, I'm a show me person. And it's said in the book, if I use the power of the spoken word and did decrees to the violet flame, it would clean me up, rejuvenate my brain, and clean up my addiction to pot. So as I read through the book, I pulled out 10 to 15 violet decrees that actually moved my soul. And I wrote them down in a separate book and read each decree 3 times each and twice a day. So I did this when I first got up in the morning. So it took me like 15 minutes. And then I did it again before I went to bed. And when I say them, you say them out loud because you're using the power of the spoken word, which is creation. So now in the book, it says that if you do each prayer 33 times, you'll get a maximum effect. And also using the power of the spoken word. And, you say them with as much feeling as you can. So that weekend, I decided to devote that whole weekend to saying all these decrees, right? So what I did is I went outside in the backyard because it was summertime and I lived in a place where I didn't have a lot of neighbors. So I took a big bottle of water and my tanning lotion because back then it was okay to go out in the sun, and a jar of 33 pennies so I would not lose count and no one was around to hear me. So at the end of a weekend of chanting and doing decrees to the violet flame, I found my mind was back. I became aware of whom I was spiritually, and I was off my severe addiction to pot. And I changed so fast, I had to pull away from all my friends who didn't recognize a change in me. And it wasn't long before, they saw the new me. It took a couple weeks, before they could recognize how much I changed and I could continue our friendship. So if you can't find the book, you can simply chant to the violet flame. And all I say is, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. And I know you've heard me chant that before. It's a simple chant that has given me some of my biggest growth experiences I've ever had. And all again I say is, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. Simple. So the violet flame can also be used to burn off energy from a psychic attack. Now, to do this, I also add calling to Michael the Archangel to cut ties to whoever's sending me that negative energy. I see myself in a bubble of violet flame, and then I chant, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires, over and over. And it could be 5 to 10 minutes until I feel lighter. And you will feel lighter because you burned off all that negative garbage. So I have personally used the violet flame to clean up so much. And I mean energetically wise, to clean up the negative energies in my house or store, raising the vibration, of neutralize any negative energy my neighbor may have because we have a disagreement. My violet flame, it's good for cleaning up and releasing stuck astral entities or ghosts from anywhere, homes, properties, schools, land, around people. I call it forth for myself all the time, and often for family members who are in drama, to help shift a dark situation or to clean up a black magician's energy mess. Or have you traveled through an old country, someplace in Europe, and gone through some of their old churches, and ooh, boy, they feel pretty yucky, I have to say, and dark. So when I go through them, I'll violet flame that whole energy and really try to transmute it and help lighten it. I call the violet flame through the earth to help her release stuck energy, like in the fault lines or throughout of balance. When weather is out of balance, like fires, severe storms, letting the elemental burn its out of balance anger, out of control anger through the violet flame so it may calm down. Now, I also use the violet flame. Okay, so now are you getting all the practical purposes of the violet flame? So when I would wake up in the morning, when my kids were young and I was really angry and cranky, some would have called me a bitch at the kids, and I'd be yelling and screaming, and there was no reason to. They never did anything wrong, right? Kids were calm, but I was just the screaming Mimi. So I would have to get control of myself, and I'd leave the room and understand either I was under a psychic attack and reacting badly from the negative energies, or the weight of the earth was so heavy with negativity that it was dragging me down into the dark side. And you know what? Whatever the reason, I needed to shift it. So off I would go into a room by myself or take a short drive in the car and chant, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. Over and over and over again for how long it took until I felt the anger leave and I felt lighter. I noticed that when I chanted to the violet flame, it also burned off the anger I created in that other person or in the kids, that created the disharmony. And, it brought everything back into harmony. So I'm using it all the time. And again, this is a practical application of the violet flame. Try it. Now, what I'd like to do is reconnect those empowered to source. If you want to think about enlightenment, which I want you to think about a lot, and how we're going to do it, you have to look at what's holding enlightenment back and, what is wrong with those people in power. They're nuts. They're insane. They are not making rational decisions. Matter of fact, whatever, if it's for the earth or humanity, they ain't doing it, are they? They take pride in taking away money and public programs from the poor and from us. And, their actions are bizarre. So if we want enlightenment to really move forward, you have to help those that are in need of it the most. And I usually, when I do my healing work, I've been trained to start where it's the hardest, because once you have corrected that and healed that, everything else is easy. So I want to do just a real short energy work tonight about reconnecting those empowered to source. And this is all of those in the Congress and the Senate that have to make a decision on the TPP. Everyone of power, no matter whether they're a governor, a mayor, a sheriff, all those guys, military, okay. So now I want you to remember that before you start groaning, healing is simple. And it's man that makes it complex. How many people do you know that you go to these seminars and, they're charging you big bucks, $500 to $2,000 for a weekend seminar on something? Well, say it's on healing. That means they've got to fill up your mind with 2.5 days of crap in order to justify them charging you so much money. When you want to know the secret to healing? Okay, here it is. Take a deep breath. Imagine yourself reconnecting to source. Allow that energy to flow in. Let it flow out your arms, out your hands. And that's it. That's the secret to healing. You're not doing it. You are allowing that divine energy to flow through you. And it's the creator that's doing the healing, not you. And if you think it's you, you got a big ego. Be a little humble. It's not the energy flowing through you. And it's all practice. You let it come through. You let it come through. The only reason I am so good at what I do is because I do it so much. I'm like a mechanic. If you did healing work on 5 to 10 people a day, 365 days a year for the past 20 years, you'd be a little good at it too, don't you think? Uh-huh. So like I said, healing is simple. And the power of just calling down divine energy to descend down around a person is very profound. And I use it extensively with great results. And, if it works on family and friends, why not start using it on those who control the planet? And I had a guy actually go in from Facebook from Michigan and said he was compelled to go to a council meeting, and he doesn't go around those at all. And he couldn't really remember what I was telling him, how to make a reptilian shapeshift and really bring out their true selves. So what he did is he just sat in the council meeting and he started chanting the violet flame down around these people. And what he saw blew him away, because one of the women got so nervous on the council, she had to leave. The person that was in charge decided to talk and speak truth to all his compadres, but didn't realize that his microphone was on. And everyone heard him speak truth, which wasn't really good for him. You know what I mean? It blew the whole integrity of the meeting, and it was dissolved. So again, that was just working with the violet flame, and he's, really didn't know what he was doing. So I like to say, if you're going to go see some of these guys and some of these politicians and listen to them lecture, then go in there and just start chanting the violet flame down around them, like we were doing with Snyder. So he just speaks truth tomorrow. Now, another way is simply, again, calling down the divine energy. So if we're doing it for those in power, might say, may divine peace, divine love, divine compassion, divine enlightenment descend down around you now. Or divine kindness, divine caring for humans and all life forms, divine truth, divine speech, you get the idea. Divine love, divine compassion. May divine peace descend down around you now. May divine love descend down around you now. May divine compassion descend down around you now. May divine enlightenment descend down around you now. Now, of course, if you're in a meeting or somewhere like that, you're not going to shout that out loud, but you can shout it in your mind and you're going to get the same results. Now, as long as you put divine in front of the work, you are calling down that aspect of the creator that needs to be expressed and is lacking in that person. And at the end, I always say, not my will, but thy will be done, right? I figure if God doesn't want it done, then he'll negate it. Now, practical application, how easy is this? Say you don't have time to do this for people. I say, just do this for 30 seconds to 5 minutes a day. And you can multitask and do it while you're brushing your teeth. You can call divine peace, divine love, divine compassion to descend down all those that are in power and making decisions now. You can do it while you're driving, while you're gardening, while you're taking that walk. It's easy to do. Just simply call the energy down. Now, here's one that's really practical that I really like to use because it works really well. How many of you been in an airplane with screaming, out of control kids? Or babies, whatever you pick. They're screaming and obnoxious, right? So instead of going, oh my God, let me get out the duct tape, I will chant in my mind, may divine peace, divine calm, divine sleep descend down around you now. And I would say that again, but I don't want you all to go to sleep on me. And in a few minutes, that baby is calm and peaceful. And, normally they're going to sleep, and it does work that fast. And please, kids, don't ever write a book about me. But yeah, I used to use it on my kids all the time, and it works really, really well. So have you an out of control family member who you just can't reach because they're just not there mentally, or perhaps a demon is. So they're really lacking light. So stop feeding that dark energy and start chanting some high divine energy down around them, and keep chanting until you see the positive shift. And you will. I have seen positive shifts around people in minutes. And for very difficult beings, it may have taken me a few hours, okay? But to see the demon leave and the person become themselves again is worth it, you know? Try calling down divine energy down around your own family in need and see the positive shifts for yourself. You know, and always I say at the end, that our will but thy will be done. You know, when my kids were looking for work, I would call down, may divine job hunting, divine motivation, divine right action descend down around you now. And they all had jobs within a week. So again, it's just calling down that divine energy, and it's amazing. Let me say that again. It's amazing what can happen and the miracles that can happen. And all you're doing is uplifting that person, right? And that's what enlightenment is about, helping each other, lift each other up, and be in harmony as much as we can. I'll drink water to that. So what I wanted to share with you now is a little bit about manifesting weather. And, you know, what does that mean? It means learning how to work with the elemental kingdom, air, earth, fire, water. And to me, everything is elemental that you see, except for your souls. You know, that's not an elemental. So your body is a group of elementals working in harmony, which is my truth. And I've worked with the elementals many, many years. And really, if you have a big celestial or an celestial crystal around you, that's one of their purposes, to help you awaken to the elemental kingdom. So I'm going to give you some techniques on cutting the elementals free. Now, to me, when the elementals first came on the planet, you know, the planet was pure, pristine, beautiful, lovely. The water elemental, all they had to do was mirror beautiful things. And then something happened along the way, and things got really mucked up, and the elemental kingdom was commanded to mirror ugly things, to become nuclear facilities, which isn't really cool. To become things that they really didn't want to or sign in on. Once an elemental is attached to a black magician, unless you free them, that poor elemental is stuck to that black magician for eternity, until you free them. And as you free them and reconnect them to the Creator, like everything else needs to be reconnected, they will respond in so many ways, it will blow you away. So how many of you are tired of chemtrails in the sky? Okay, so try doing this with them. And, you know, you're also working with the angels. So you're working with the angels, you're working with earth and spiritual. And so it's like the Trinity, the three of you. You're being the conduit and the bridge between. So he called Michael the Archangel to take his sword of blue flame and cut all ties to all elementals that create a plane, helicopter, jet, anything that flies, that create chemtrails in the sky anywhere on Earth, and all the pilots that fly them. So you call the violet flame to clean them up, the angel light energy to heal them. As we reconnect the elementals to the Creator, we command them to break down, choosing not to hurt nor harm. So if they're in the air, we see all the planes have something not working correctly. So the pilots must return to their point of origin safely. May the planes break down in ways where the pilots are not harmed. We see all the chemical barrels leaking inside the planes that are not commercial planes. And because the pilots are breathing the fumes, they must return to point of origin, becoming so sick they can no longer fly and must find other work. We call, if that's what their karma asks, we call the higher selves of all the pilots to become conscious beings as we reconnect them to the Creator, awakening to the damage they're doing to the planet and all life forms. They begin to have thoughts of their families and friends being hurt by their actions and start refusing to fly. We ask their guardian angels to bring them better jobs that will put their skills to a divinely constructive use. I also have been known, so you also see all the planes, helicopters, jets, drones now being permanently grounded. And then you see the skies very blue with fluffy white clouds. Now you can also call to the cosmic beings out there and invite them in to work with the chemtrails to clean it up and to clean up the radiation. Why not? This is a magical planet. Anything can happen. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. All right, so say you've got a fire. Now, how do you calm the fire? So again, we call the Michael the Archangel to come forth and cut all ties to whoever started the fire. You cut ties to the elementals, whatever they have taken on, the energy, and could not hold the energy. So they've got to burn it off through physical fire. And as we cut the ties, we call the violet flame through the fire and command the fire elemental to now burn off its anger through the violet flame. We send the energy of the angel light to heal the fire elemental. Now we reconnect the fire elemental to the Creator and command it to not allow itself to become calm. We command it to allow itself to become calm and neutralized. We also ask that there is a drop in barometric pressure that will draw rain into the area, and we see rain clouds forming and it gently raining. We call to the water elemental in the area, the streams, the lakes, the ponds, to now release moisture into the air so rain clouds can form. We call to the higher selves of all that are trying to calm any fires down, the firemen and women, and ask that they're divinely guided what to do and where to put the water so the fire calms down. We see the water elemental guiding them, and the firefighters have perfect accuracy. We also call to the wind elemental to now become calm. As the fire elemental reconnects to the Creator, it now allows itself to become now calm and neutral and go out. And as always, nevertheless, not our will, but thy will be done. So that is how to calm a fire. So what about, how do you create rain? How many of you guys are in a dry state right now? Okay. So, well, let's just take California and work on California. So before I actually, do work with weather, I always ask for permission from the Creator to do the weather work before I start. And of course, not my will, but thy will be done. So if we're going to create rain in California, I'm going to start let there be light in the name of the presence of God, which I am, through the magnetic power of the sacred fire vested in me, I command. I ask that whatever the reason is that drought is being created in the state of California or any desert, dry, waterless area of your choice, whether man-made, HARP, geoengineering, the CERN, or magic made, is cut from those sources. As the ties are cut, I call the violet flame into the area to clean up all that out of balance energy and send the angel light energy to heal. Now you reconnect all of the areas back to the creator. So let's envision huge fields of giant ionizers that look like big metal palm trees with wires erected to generate waves of negative ions, which rise into the lower atmosphere and attract dust particles. The dust particles, in turn, attract condensation from the ambient air. And when enough condensation is achieved, the clouds can't hold the water anymore, and a downpour of rain is unleashed, creating huge rainstorms that put the area back in balance, replenishing all water supplies, including all lakes, riverbeds, streams, personal water catchments, and all old underground aquifers. I'll also ask that there is a big drop in barometric pressure, pulling all clouds into the area. So if you want to disperse rain, you raise the barometric pressure. If you want to pull in rain, you lower the barometric pressure. So we call to any water elemental in the area to now release moisture into the air, including oceans, rivers, lakes, streams, puddles, and water catchments. As the moisture is released into the air along with the negative charged ions, we see clouds begin to form, getting darker and heavier as it fills with moisture. Imagine the clouds growing in size, getting darker, and now see it gently rain until there is enough rain to put the area back in balance. And you want a gentle, loving, kind rain. So let's see a big, giant Earth Keeper crystal in the middle of California, whose job is to help the elementals of California go back into balance and stay balanced. But nevertheless, not our will, but thy will be done, like I said. And that's it. And that is how to create rain. So how do we calm hurricanes and cyclones? Well, again, I start off with let there be light. In the name of the presence of God, which I am, through the magnetic power of sacred fire vested in me, I command. I call to Michael the archangel and command you take your sword of blue flame and cut free the hurricane cyclone energy that is man-made or created with any Tesla HARP information machines. As these elementals are cut free from their masters, I send the violet flame through the wind, rain, cloud energy to clean them up, commanding them to let their out of balance energy burn out through the violet flame, turning into a harmless, gentle rain. We send the angel light energy to heal. I now reconnect every water molecule back to the divine and command them to be neutral. I ask Michael to take his sword and chop up these storm fronts and see them dissipating in love, allowing a very gentle rain to come on land. And then, that's it. So again, you also want the barometric pressure to raise, which disperses the storms. You want to bring in rain, you lower the barometric pressure. To disperse it, you raise it. And then for those of you that are really familiar with the harp, let's just do a little thing for the harp because that is so nasty. So we call to Michael the Archangel, Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, all the cosmic beings, and the creator to cut ties to all artificial plasmas in the atmosphere that was HARP reptilian created, that creates a mirror. As we cut the ties to their masters, we call the violet flame through all the cells, atoms, molecules, DNA of this plasma to clean it up. Now we reconnect it all to the creator, filling it all up with the divine love. We command it to be neutral and no longer function. See the plasma breaking up and neutralizing itself. Let it not be able to form any square or ring frequency patterns. We place a mirror in front of this mirror to return all signals and all frequencies back to the HARP stations. As this is done, we see all the HARP equipment imploding on itself. All computers connected with the HARP overloading with this energy that was sent back, causing many overloads. We also cut the ties to military buoys connected to the HARP stations and their dark masters. We command that all these buoys be contained in a circle of cement with a lead overlay to jam all frequencies, placing all these buoys in a position of harmlessness. We command the goddess of truth to bring all knowledge up to the people that can put these HARP facilities in a position of harmlessness. As these HARP facilities break down, we see everyone reconnected to the Creator, becoming awakened spiritual beings, and then taking that HARP equipment and using it to clean up the radiation in the sky. So fill it all up with light and love, and you take a deep breath and you release it. So that's pretty simple, working with weather, huh? Did I make it simple? I hope so, because so much of what's going on today is artificial weather, and the elementals are being commanded to do things that they really don't want to do. And given the choice to not hurt or harm, they would rather choose not to harm once they're set free. And a good example I can give you is I saw on TV years ago where there's an ocean liner out in the ocean, a cruise ship, huge cruise ship. And they said out of nowhere, this rogue wave, huge rogue wave came up. And it almost tipped the boat over, but it didn't. Now, what I saw and what that told me is, now I live on an island. I live in Hawaii. And trust me, I do a lot of work with the water elemental, calming it down ahead of time in case anyone wanted to really create a really severe tsunami. And that doesn't work for me. So again, I've been working with the water elemental ahead of time, and to see this where the water elemental chose not to flip over this cruise ship was mind-blowing. And all I could also think is, who in the hell is screwing around with the HARP and their little joysticks? They're probably going, ooh, watch this. Let's see if we can flip the boat over. Oh, dang, it didn't work. I mean, God, these guys are nuts. They can create hurricanes and all that stuff. So when you work with the elementals ahead of time, and then when it's time to call on them, to calm down, they're going to listen because they don't want to hurt or harm. That's not what they've signed up on this planet for. They want harmony as much as we do, which is why we are really putting a lot of energy into world enlightenment. So please go to the Enlightenment Movement 2016 at shutterfly.com. Sign up and give energy to it. Talk about enlightenment. You know, that is how we are going to manifest and create the 100 monkey theory. When we finally reach that tipping point, things will go higher into the light. And boy, we need it. The other side is going nuts, which they have before, but boy, they're really turning it up. And as we turn it up, they're turning it up. Of course, they've got all the TV and all that they can pull from, and they certainly put their rituals on. And my God, they even came up with a TV show called Lucifer. And oh, you right, Christians out there, why are you not doing a boycott on all their sponsors? That's promoting a TV show called Lucifer. Give me a break. Boycott those people that are putting the ads. Boycott the advertisers and let them know you're boycotting. Let your Christian groups, your churches know that it's time to speak out against stuff like this. Lucifer being on TV. Oh my God. And I violet flame that set and that energy, and I anchor the violet flame in the middle of that set. And let everyone who comes into that set be touched by it. If it's for the highest good of the planet, let no one be able to remember their lines. Let no one show any interest. Imagine it being totally invisible, so it cannot be seen by the masses, yet be seen by the Christians, so it gets off the air. And then focus on enlightenment. Come on, are you on Twitter? Then talk about it. Hashtag World Enlightenment Movement 2016. Hashtag Enlightenment Movement 2016. Hashtag Enlightenment 2016. Let's make it trendy. Come on, let's do this. It's going to take all of us to manifest this. So please, there is no fence sitting in this lifetime. And if you think you're going to be neutral and not be affected by it, well, you're neutral. It means you're not giving energy to light. So you're supporting darkness. There is no neutral. So cancel, clear that, and choose light and become part of it. Now, next week, I've got a really cool guest coming on, and her name is Sue Storm, and she is an angelic interpreter, and she will give you readings from the angels, and I will open up the calling lines and take in your calls, and she'll give everybody little mini readings. So you might want to tune in next week. That will be the first hour. Haven't decided what the second hour will be yet, but I'm not done with this show, so I have a few minutes, a few days. So, tune in, and if you really want a reading by Sue Storm, who really wrote a few books on angels and very, very connected, very gifted psychically, then tune in and dial. I will give you the number next week. I'm sure they put it on the chat room. And, you can ask her a question. So again, all I can say is focus on the light. Work with the violet flame. Let it help burn off negativity and darkness in your life. You got an addiction? God. Go do some invocations to the violet flame. Put out for the book. Doesn't cost much, especially if you buy a used one on Amazon. Your energy makes a difference. What you do makes a difference. And we need you. This is the year for manifesting enlightenment. And if it's not going to be us, who in the hell is it going to be? Really? Who are we waiting for? It is us. So talk to your kids about what life would be like if you were enlightened. Teach them how to work with the energy of love and what the violet flame is and how they can work and use it in their life and to help improve their lives. And I really hope you have a lovely Valentine's Day and all your dreams and your heart's desires come true. You know, give a flower to somebody who doesn't get any flowers. Make somebody happy. Do a random act of kindness with a flower on Valentine's Day. You know, spread the love. Focus on the heart chakra on that day. And if you want to chant, may divine enlightenment descend down around everyone now. All right. Aloha.